Welcome to A Shared Gaze, the podcast hosted by me, Alayo Akinkube. I run the Instagram platform A Black History of Art, which aims to highlight the too often overlooked Black artists, sitters, curators and thinkers from art history and the present day. I'm also the author of Reframing Blackness, What's Black About History of Art, published by Murky Books in 2025. This podcast, A Shared Gaze, is an extension of A Black History of Art. Here, I share conversations that I've had with Black contemporary artists and creatives about their lives and their work. If you're listening to the audio on Apple or Spotify, this episode is also filmed and can be watched on YouTube. Please see the link in the description. In this episode of A Shared Gaze, I speak with painter and my good friend, Shaqúelle Whyte. His work depicts fictional environments and explores subjects including family, loss, and his own inner life. Raised in Wolverhampton and trained at the Slade and the Royal College of Art, Shaq has developed a distinct visual language and established a remarkable career in the short period since he left art school. We discuss his current exhibition, 9 Nights Strange Fruit, at White Cube in Hong Kong, which is informed by Jamaican funeral rites and the death of his grandfather, as well as his upcoming show, Shattered Dreams, at home in Wolverhampton at Wolverhampton Art Gallery. Our conversation spans his upbringing, his experiences at Slade and the RCA, and the importance of failure within his process. We also explore the influence of music and literature and how he balances his personal life with the demands of painting. Hi, Shaqúelle Whyte.
Hi, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries at all.
And for coming onto the podcast. Mm-hmm. This is the second time that we're doing this because my audio messed up last time. But this time we're going to get it right and it's going to be shared with the public.
Exactly.
Can you tell the audience where we are now?
So we're at my flat in the yard.
This is a sneak peek. This is the real deal.
Yeah, just a little piece. Like, it's just hilarious because I mean, to be quite like we've been sort of like, you've been busy, I've been busy, and sort of like been almost like.
You've had a lot going on, which we're gonna get into.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's nice that we actually found some time to do this, and for it to be in your flat feels like a really big privilege.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Such a beautiful place.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think it's like one of those.
It's nice to have this insight into you beyond the studio, beyond the artist.
Yeah.
And just get more of a sense of who you are as a person.
It's nice because it's like we're real life friends, so it's sort of there like you are coming here anyway, like we're on that kind of vibe, so it's sort of there like, let's just sort of like
let's share it,
hang out,
let's share it and hang out,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. So I normally start the podcast by asking my guests, where did you grow up and what was that like? So could you share kind of your experience of growing up, and it doesn't have to go this far, but maybe how that might have shaped you as an artist and who you've become now?
I mean, I grew up in Wolverhampton, and which is like just north of Birmingham, basically. It's the Black Country.
Yeah.
And it's a city. I mean, it's a city. It's full of just like amazing people. Like, I loved growing up there, but I think that like my world was sort of like not small, but it's sort of like very tight knit communities. And I suppose that like I got introduced to art just through the fact that my mum worked full time, and it was something that she could give me to do during the summer holidays, just to sort of like.
So you've always kind of been making art, like even as a child. And,
100%. It's sort of like you always making art as growing up, and then it became this thing of like that's all I really wanted to do. Like, it was the place where like.
I was just gonna ask you that.
Yeah.
Like, have you always wanted to be an artist? Is it kind of something that you always worked towards?
I wanted to do a plethora of things, but like. I think it's the thing that like always felt like me, like like some of the other things that I did. I was interested in law, and then I also was a musician for a long time. And those,
you don't make music anymore?
No, not really. I mean, I love music. I mean, the vinyls are literally just behind you.
And you have a crazy sound system.
Yeah, man, like proper proper good sound system. Well, tried. The plan is to try and build. I want to like extend it so that I've got like the treble. I've got like turn the speakers that I've got into like top treble sort of like speakers, and then have like big like bass. Basically, I want to build like a proper big sound system for it in here, which would be really cool.
Yeah.
But like, in short, it's basically to say that like I had the ability to do a variety of different things, but like those things felt like things that were given to me, but like art was something that always came from me,
Yeah.
and I've always just enjoyed that idea of like creativity, figuring out my own. It's like a lot of failing upwards basically, and sort of like being in and making paintings has always been like a thing where like I never do it quite right. So it's this obsession.
Yeah, you said that
basically.
before of like how painting is kind of like this constant pursuit. And even if you make a body of work and you're happy with it, then the next body of work, you're kind of working towards something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And clearly art was a huge part of your childhood.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And you chose to do a BA at Slade.
Yeah.
And then your MA at the RCA.
Yeah, no.
How did those experiences at those two very kind of revered London art schools sort of change you as an artist? I guess they probably kind of made you the artist that you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were your experiences like there, and how did they not just affect you, but yeah, make you the artist you are now?
I mean, like Slade was like such an incredible experience. I was unprepared for it in the sense that like I got there and hello, buddy, you alright? How you doing? Hello, Shabba.
What's the cat's name?
His full name is Josh Abaleroy, but it's just Shabba for
short.
Yeah, Shabba for short. Proper cutie.
And he's a giant.
He's absolute giant. He's a Maine Coon, and he's playing around doing his thing. But basically, okay, so like Slade, Slade was an amazing experience. I was taught under like Alison McKibben. I was taught under Peter Davies, and some amazing visiting tutors. I had tutorials with Alvaro Barrington. I had tutorials with Michael Armitage, with Lynette Yanaroke, with Jade Fadajitimi, like all this kind of thing.
Incredible alumni, right?
Yeah, incredible alumni, incredible people, and just like the way in which like they gave you access to think and to fail. It was a lot of like conversations through process. It was a lot of like pushing amongst your peers in order to sort of like figure out sort of like how to make work, what you're doing, like what the vibe is, type vibes. I don't know, like I had an amazing experience while I was at Slade. I felt really, really fortunate to be there when I was, and sort of like to be figuring out like who I was as a painter, and that sort of like that included a lot of failure.
Yeah.
It included a lot of sort of like making things that didn't work.
That's the whole purpose, right, of art school, is
exactly.
to sort of find your language, but also to make your mistakes and experiment. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's a lot of experimentation, a lot of sort of like figuring out what I'm trying to do.
It sounds like overall Slade was an extremely formative and positive experience.
It
as well.
was. I mean, like with any art schools, there's always like the natural ups and downs of like being in a space like that. And I think that like it's a lot of pressure being in a space like that. There's a lot of pressure that's not put on by the institution, but from the outside work, because like Slade is very good at producing some like producing artists. I mean, like Anise Fell, Pam Evelyn's gone from there,
and painters specifically,
Kiki
right?
Kimfe,
Yes.
like Saskia Colwell, and that's just all within the past couple of years. Leo Fox just graduated, and he's an amazing illustrator and cartoonist that like makes amazing independent well, not cartoons, what do you call them?
Like illustrations,
magazines, like zines, like absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of amazing people that have gone through those halls, like historically and within the past like 5, 10, 15 years. That's sort of like a defining practice and contemporary art now. And I think that like
it's like an incubator for great painters.
Yeah, exactly. But like it's like with any art school, it's like ups and downs, and like they've got their alumni. But I had a great time at Slade, and like I really felt fortunate to be amongst the people that I was on a course with.
And were you still at Slade when you started working with Pippy Houldsworth?
Pippy sort of.
Or at the RCA?
At the RCA, sort of like when I started speaking with people. Honestly, like mostly when I was at the Slade, it was very much like head down, sort of like working.
Just making the work.
Just trying to make the work. Like, I think that like in terms of like gallery, sort of like, I don't know, gallery intervention. Like, I think it's one of those ones where like, it's a privilege to work with the gallery, and I've got a really amazing working relationship with
And
Pippy.
to have been able to do that so young. I know that obviously it's not good to sort of put pressure on artists and say you have to achieve immediately, but it's pretty wonderful to enter an art world in which you're sort of welcomed with open arms and you've had such a beautiful career so quickly.
Yeah, so far, 100%. I think that like when it comes to working with within these sort of spaces, I think it ultimately comes back down to the work and sort of like making work that makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel uncomfortable, that sort of like trying things out. And I think sort of like it costs a lot to sort of like do honest, but it's to make art and sort of like try and do this full time in whatever capacity in which one can work. But it's like I think I'd be doing this regardless of whether I had to do 2 or 3 jobs. Like this is something that I love, and like I've been afforded opportunities to show within London, within the UK, and other places around the world. Is just like that's the cherry on top, but that's not the reason why I do it. And so like it's being in the studio, it's coming in every day, it's making the work, it's sort of like really engaging in practice and what practice
the joy
is.
of actually making the work keeps you going.
100%. And like that's so filled with failure, and that's what makes it exciting, because you go in and like you might think that you're the bee's knees, or like you made this painting and you're trying to, but then like more often than not I don't quite know how I did it. And it's a lot of sort of.
You get to the final result and you're like, whoa.
Like doesn't he? Like, especially when they sort of like go past you, where they sort of like go on to maybe a group show or a solo show, or maybe you're lucky to see them after the fact.
And they they have their own kind of life. They have
their own lives, and then you sort of see them afterwards, and you're sort of there like, I don't know how I did that. But there's this whole idea of like the conscious and the unconscious. Like you have sort of like, I like to think that my practice is based within material, and so like while I'm able to sort of like understand and manipulate material and really figure out like the best ways in which to sort of like use like pigment, use rubber skin glue, be using like glazing, and really using like the crux of oil painting, it means that like you come to painting to a point of like, it's 2 + 2 makes 6. Like you have an idea that emanates from a book or from a film, and then you then marry that with an idea that you have, right?
That's what I personally find so interesting about your process, which again we've spoken about before. But in your studio, you've got tons and tons of books, and you said how like you'll flick through them, you'll take photographs of your friends, and all of these things will kind of like come together. Not in a methodical, like this plus this equals my painting, but just kind of like all these different images like feed in.
100%.
And you end up with whatever you end up with.
100%, because like if you're reading sort of like, if you're reading widely, I find that like you end up having more questions than you do answers a lot of the time, and the painting is sort of like the space in which you can best explore that. And so like, but this is where I come back to material, where it's sort of there like you have the things that you understand about the material, which is the crux of like how to paint. But then like if you're going in with the point of like considering failure as a good thing, it means that like there's no set idea as to what you're trying to achieve through the work, but you know what it is when you see it. So it's this constant taking of like, you've got your conscious part of your toolbox where you know to reach for tools and things within that sort of like context in order to make the work. But then you're constantly reaching into the unconscious to then sort of like take that on and sort of like put that into the painting. And that just means that you're very much within the process of sort of like making sort of like different stuff. And like, hello buddy, you're alright.
So I want to ask you briefly about the RCA as well, because I think a lot of younger artists wonder whether or not it's worth doing an MFA and what the MFA can actually add to like having done a BA. So for you, in your experience, was it kind of like a continuation, another year to just keep painting? It was 1 year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 1 year. We were the first year of the 1 year. I think that like rather than talks like RCA is, I was at RCA with people like Sophia Loeb, Cece Phillips, Jesse.
Again, a wonderful cohort of artists who are doing incredible things now.
Exactly, and so they're all so amazing, and like we're all still in touch and in each other's studios. A lot of them are in like this one building that they all moved, but then like I'm not there. But then because I'm not in those studios, more often than not, when I've got a spare moment, I find myself in there, and I very much need to dedicate a day because it's very much so like all my RCA friends are all in one spot, and let's go from one studio to the next.
Is it the one that Okiki is in?
Yeah,
I've
it is.
been there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like all the boys are there, you know what I mean? All the people are there, so it's all like it's really, really lovely. But like I think that like a master's program is very much a two-edged sword. Like I think that like they cost a lot of money, but like with any person trying to consider a master's, like I think that like going and doing a master's for me meant that it gave me the space to really prioritize practice rather than worrying about what comes next. And that's ultimately what I needed, what I wanted, and I think that like I benefited from that. I think that like I was very fortunate again with the cohort that I chose, because like it meant that like divorced of any kind of teaching that was happening, it meant that like I was in dialogue with an amazing
so it's
amount
the
of people.
network of artists really that you built who are your
100%.
friends.
Yeah, exactly, because like these are the people that are your contemporaries, these are the people in which like you can lean on when sort of like work's not going so well, that you can ask questions and ask uncomfortable questions, get answers. And that I think is the power of the master's degree that I did. However, I think that like master's programs are exciting. I think that like they're a lot of money, but like I think that like if you're considering doing a master's, then there's something that you might. I think it's good to go in being open-minded, but with a plan. I think it's like it works twofold. Like you want to go in sort of like being open to sort of like not every time you go and do a master's do you need to pull your work apart and build it back up, but like you need to go in and sort of like be experimenting, messing around, but like you're trying to come to find out more of who you are and who you are as a painter, and you'll probably leave not knowing
still without the answers.
Exactly, but like you'll be closer. But like the questions that you're trying to create. I think it's more important to create a bedrock of questions for what you want in your practice and build that through your time while you're doing your BA and your masters, and then you spend your whole career answering those questions. It's not trying to create anything definitive, whether it be style or a way of working and stuff like that. Like work is malleable, it's flexible, and ultimately like to paint is a privilege that you want to do for a lifetime. And so like your being in a masters gives you the opportunity to be directed to find more questions. You know what I mean?
That will guide your practice.
Which will guide your practice. Which will put you in good stead to keep on interrogating what you do when you get to a point where like it's you on your own in a studio, you've got a canvas and you've got to really sort of like come to the work and sort of figure out what it is. Like there's I think one of the things that you don't, because like everyone gets jobs, everyone lives their lives, stuff like that, and I think that like to have the access to sort of like have one person that does this, one person that does that, all sort of like within a couple of meters of each other, like that kind of thing doesn't necessarily, that's not how my life is now. My day looks like wake up, go to the gym or something along those lines, get to the studio, and then it's me. And don't get me wrong, I then do see friends during the week and stuff like that, and X, Y, and Z.
But it probably also depends on how close a deadline is, or
exactly,
what you're working towards.
What I'm working towards, and also just the fact that like ultimately like paintings can be a solitary thing, but that's not a bad thing either. Like it just means that like you're just like working and making the work. Come here, dude. There we are. So like, yeah, it's like it's one of those kind of ones. Are you gonna come over there? He's all right. He's minding his business. Don't worry about him.
My cat phobia has been broadcasted.
Oh, 100%. Like,
but it's actually fine.
It's been trial by fire.
I'm growing. Yeah, so painting as this solitary thing. So, sorry, just in relation to what you were saying about master's programs, it's sort of the last time that you're going to be with so many artists all in one place and have access to each other, and you're all sort of trying to do the same thing. So, you've got a show on at White Cube in Hong Kong right now. It's called 9 Nights Strange Fruit.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And then you've also got a show opening at Wolverhampton Art Gallery.
Yeah.
Wait, Home?
Yeah, Home.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, I know.
And that opens in April.
April 17th, yeah.
So you've got a lot happening. I mean, you're constantly having exhibitions, but I want to focus on what's happening right now. So 9 Nights Strange Fruit, where does the title for that exhibition come from, and what kind of headspace were you in when you were making those works?
So making this body of work, it was... So 9 nights is the process in which sort of like within Jamaican culture we go about burying our dead, and so you know what it is, when I'm in the studio, like all my family literally live in Wolverhampton and Birmingham. That's where they all are, and so like when I'm down here, like last year, I just didn't end up going home that as much as I would have liked to, like nowhere near as much, and my granddad died 6 months before I was born, and and my mum was pregnant with me at the time, but he was an amazing man, and there's still certain people within the Wolverhampton community where if you mention Mervyn White, like he's still a person that's known, and he passed in the January of the 2000s, so he's been. So dead
even though you didn't meet him,
like I carry his name within my own, like within my full name, and like he was an amazing man, and he sort of like governed, even just through proxy of stories and the other men that are in my family, like what it means to sort of like maneuver through life, and what it means to be like, I don't know, be like a good person, and sort of like really hold your family down. This is all sort of say that like if we're thinking about sort of like what his passing means within like the history of my family, there was like a before he died and then after he died, but then like there's these 9 days I don't know, like where everybody's sort of like trying to, everyone's grieving, everyone's going through the process of sort of like go through the burial and stuff like that. So like 9 nights, that side of it is sort of like, it's this fictioning from a point of view where like I was never there, I wasn't at the funeral, I wasn't born, but then like you're then considering the realities of what it was like to go through the process of burying a man of that stature, while with an understanding of what his passing means within the way that the family's then gone and evolved since his passing. And then the strange fruit sort of side of it is the song. So it's from I always consider it from that. It originally came from Billie Holiday, but like the version that I most consider is the Nina Simone version.
Oh, the Nina Simone,
version. Like I'm a massive fan of Nina Simone, and like I think she's absolutely amazing. And but this is all to say that like the strange fruit and like the lyrics that sort of like were
such a harrowing song. Yeah, I remember sort of being a teenager and then understanding what the like strange fruit like phrase meant, and like the images of lynching and that kind of thing. Yeah,
and it's sort of like what that means within sort of like Black American sort of like context, but also just like within Western Black sort of like context. And it all relates to the fact that like my grandfather's passing was through the negligence of a company called Goodyear Tires. It was poor PPE, and poor PPE, which meant that led to his passing. And so like it was.
Had he been a medical worker? Or?
He was making the tires.
Okay,
and so,
yeah,
like,
sorry,
like,
because of PPE and
I
was getting distracted. Sorry.
It was the PPE and like the lack of regulation meant that he like emphysema and lung cancer. That was because of the working conditions that he was in. But this is to say that like unfortunately, because of the situation at the time, my family weren't able to take it any further, and in terms of sort of like going for the company. But it sort of like lays for me blame. It's for me the strange fruit side of the title. There's a reason why like in the title I used like a semicolon. It's like these two contrasting ideas that very much relate to each other. It's like I wanted to consider language in a way that people that speak multiple languages consider the way in which they title things. That was very important to me. Although I don't speak another language, I've got a lot of people that do, and the way in which things have multiple meanings within when they use their sort of like their native tongue and stuff like that. Like I think that there's a way to do that in English which can really give more to a thing than it just being an adjective to describe, and that
Yeah.
be that. And this is also sort of say that like if you've got this context of sort of like a taking and laying blame at someone's door and almost like pointing and looking and sort of saying, I know what you did, I know who you are, and then you've got the chronicling of the passing and the fictioning that comes from the unreliable narratives of my family members who all, like my grandfather was the patriarch of the family, so everybody took his passing hard, and it sits differently for each person. They have this different memories, and I'm almost sit outside of this bubble. What I sit in is the reality of a future without him.
Yes.
And so it's marrying both these ideas, and again, I'm not necessarily trying to be right, but it was a lot of like questions and asking questions, getting answers, thinking about whether these answers are reliable as to what I think happened. So, which just allows for this like very much this spanning back and forth of the realities of his passing, what it means to bury a person within those sort of like 9 days, and the processes and what it would feel like, rather than a direct chronicling of like, okay, day one looks like this, day two looks like that.
Yeah.
So it means that I've got paint, but then like there's humour within this body of work as well. So like within the show, there's a painting that I've got called In the Shubs, and In the Shubs depicts this open casket in sort of like a living space, right?
Yes.
And I'm very proud of that work, but like, it's called In the Shubs because it's like very much considering like 90s 2000s sort of like house parties, sort of like going in another shubs, sort of like vibing, like skanking, so like DWE X Y and Z, and I think that like that it was then into relation to the fact that like when I've been to funerals of my grandma's sort of like friends and older family members, you go and it's very, very sad, but it's a celebration of life. Ultimately, 9 nights.
Same in Nigeria.
Like,
same
it's a
in
celebration
Nigeria.
of life, and so like you do end up at the family home. You do end up playing dominoes. You do end up eating it sounds really bad, but some of the best food that I've eaten
has been at these funerals.
It's been at these funerals.
It's
you know
crazy.
what I mean?
And I remember growing up with this being between Nigeria and the UK, finding it really confusing that like funerals for old people in Nigeria were like parties. But then as I've gotten older, I understand it a lot more because I get the aspect of it that's like it's a celebration of life. And I suppose because I was used to like Western movies and it was sort of between the UK and Nigeria, I thought it had to be this it is solemn, of course, but the actual funeral itself is a celebration with everyone who's living, and also a celebration of that person's long life.
Long
and
life.
it's the same, and it happens in so many parts of the world, especially in Black culture.
And it's not that you're meant to like bastards, like it's not you trying to melt down. Like there's an amazing I forgot what the song's called, but it's like Kano and DWE in a song, and like they made like this film music video of it, and it's basically depicting like a funeral, the process, and then afterwards they end up back at the house, and they're shelling on mics and stuff like that. They're shelling on mics, and it's like going mad, and it's like amazing. It's wheel ups in a thing, and X, Y, and Z. It's sort of like, but it's that, and like both things can exist alongside each other and be true.
Yeah.
And so like there's pain. So like, and that's the reason why I wanted to find humor. I wanted to find like. I was trying to find a solemn sort of prosaic, if that's the kind of, if maybe that's the right word, maybe it's not, but like somber sort ofness to the works. But then also I was trying to find where there's joy, where there's beauty, where there's solace in each other, and also where there's tension, because like everybody has their own. Because like within the context of passing, like everyone has their own individual relationships with the person, with the people, and it means that like people can butt heads within funerals.
They
like
often lead to tension within families.
Exactly, and
afterwards,
and it's to acknowledge all of that, and in the best way that I can across like 10, 12 paintings, which ultimately you then fail at, because like how can you do that all?
How can you hold all of those things?
Exactly, in space across 10, 12 paintings. And so it's say that there's more scope within the idea, but like I'm very proud of the works that I made for that show. I mean, it's funny because last time you came, we did all this.
We were in the studio and the paintings were there, and we couldn't show them.
Couldn't show them at the time, so it was almost like, okay, like this is... like not yet, like they're X, Y, and Z. So like,
I'm glad we can talk about them. And also, what was kind of poignant for me at the time, my grandparents had just passed away.
Yes.
And so seeing those paintings, but then talking to you about the whole 9 nights thing and how funerals happen in like your culture as well. I don't know. It was like I don't want to say cathartic, but it was exactly what I felt I needed to see at that time. So seeing those works was amazing for me.
That really means a lot.
When we
Thank you.
first saw them. And also, I would have never been able to go to Hong Kong to see the show, so I'm glad I got to see them in the studio.
Hong Kong's very
and it's such
far.
a beautiful body of work.
Thank you so much. I mean, like, making that body of work, I mean, like, last year, if I'm honest with you, it was amazing. It was intense, but it also showed me the breadth of what I'm able to do when I just like put my head to it.
Yeah.
Because within 12 months, I made Winter Remembers April, which was the show that I made with Pippy Houldsworth, and then I made 9 Nights Strange Fruit for the show with White Cube, and it just meant like a lot of sort of like, I don't know, like with like. If Winter Remembers April is almost like a macro of my practice, like when 9 Nights Strange Fruit ended up being like a micro of sort of like a section of sort of like where I can go down.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed both challenges, and they both bodies of work sort of feed through into each other. Like movement's very important to my work, colour's very important to my work, material and how it sits and how it undulates is very important to my work. And so like would
I be right in saying that generally speaking the works in 9 Nights are almost a bit more quiet than the works in Winter Remembers April?
I suppose so. I mean, like there's a like I suppose so, yeah.
You don't have to agree, by the way.
I mean, like,
It's just-
there's a silence that exists in both. I think that, like, where they mostly differ is that, like, the overall context, like, the context in which, like, Winter Remembers April was made was sort of, like, thinking about a variety of different things, but thinking about entropy as a philosophical device to consider sort of, like, the plights of the black man, but, like, me and, like, just questioning different sort of aspects of what it means to love, what it means to be around people, what does frustration look like, and using each painting as a point to ramp up the idea of what entropy could look like in this sort of like, so like the way in which like the multiplicity of figures sort of like move through a space simultaneously.
I keep thinking about the painting with the flame and the figures bolting off in different directions.
Bursting in the dead of night. Yeah. So like it was like that paint, like it's this building and building and building where like there was that. But then taking the principles of what that body of work is, it was then taking that to a very specific place, which is what 9 Nights Strange Fruit was. But like, but I suppose that within the context of like, that body of work, I suppose the space for silence was even more apparent, just because like, I don't know. Again, and maybe it's because of the fact that like the point in which excuse me, I was coming into it is that like I'm recalling and fictioning an event that I was never a part of, and so like that process meant that like
the subject was slightly different.
The subject was slightly different.
Yeah.
Like it, there was a freedom. Like I'd given myself the freedom to make as I wanted to. It was important, but like silence, just to sort of like consider without noise, like in paintings, like I forgot some of the names, which is really appalling. So I should know the names of my paintings. But I've got this painting of like this funeral procession, sort of like moving through space, and it's very much like this. You've got like this fog, smoke, sort of like almost like coming in over the characters as they're moving through. And I think that like, sometimes in painting I describe a hum. And that's what I'm looking for, like a hum within the work. And like the other works had a hum in a different way, but it's very much this sort of like bombastic sort of like you can almost hear that, you can almost hear it. Hear the paintings when I look at the Winter Remembers April works, where like the 9 Nights Strange Fruit work very much has this. It's like you can hear the footsteps, you can hear sort of like what's going on in that kind of sense, rather than it being like a rather than it being like
Yeah. The final section of the podcast centers on influences. And I'm always intrigued by, when it comes to painters, which painters are you particularly drawn to, always looking at? Who do you think are some of your biggest influences?
I always say this, but like Rothko, I probably Banner, Vola,
All the Frenchies.
all those kind of guys. I love El Greco, Goya. I've been really considering sort of like is it Morandi?
Giorgio Morandi.
I think so, yeah.
Despite having an art history degree, the name is familiar to me and I can't picture his work. That's terrible.
But who's the guy that does this? To be fair, I love what's his name? Ewan Hugo. Especially because of like the still life work is phenomenal. I think that like the space in which it's almost like if you consider sort of like paintings as like a point where that something happened before or something happened after, and you got this one moment. Find his work quite like really, really interesting. I don't know, but like this is all to say though that like I love going to shows. I do like look at a lot of artwork, but more often than not at the moment, it's been more important to really consider what practice is for me, because like you end up looking left and right, and then like it's almost like your head's moving, spun a bit too much. So like now I'm almost like I do enjoy seeing contemporary artists. I mean, Lisa Bryce had a show.
Oh my goodness.
Back end of the
at Sadie Cole's,
which is absolutely wild.
Incredible.
Eva Paid, who was absolutely like that show was absolutely wild. I went to that like 3 times. Like it was an amazing show that was on while my show was on at Pippy Houldsworth Gallery. So it'd be nice. I'd pop in and go. I'd be doing something with the gallery, and then I sort of afterwards sort of like walk around and go back to the show. And so. So like yeah, you do look at a lot of contemporary artists. You look at a lot of what's going on and stuff like that. But I think that like more important at the moment is just sort of like be in my own studio and sort of like consider like what I want to make. But then that sort of like comes with, you gonna come or not? You coming up? No, it's not coming up.
No,
Shabba, boy. Oh, come on. Just come, man. Just come. Oh, come here. I'm
like, no.
There we go. Right. Are you going that way? It's not worries.
So long.
Off you go. So long. I'm trying with this dude. You know what I mean? I'm really trying. I swear to God he loves me. I swear to God. Anyway. But I suppose that my influences also do come from other places. Like, I do love film. I try to watch as much as I can. But like, do I remember the names of the directors? No. Do I remember the names of the
films?
Of the films? No. But like, do I take screenshots or sort of like, do they stick with me in a certain way, especially aesthetically? Yes, 100%. I think I love the way in which painting can be filmic and can be expansive, and that's something that I look for in my works. But then also like a lot of writers. So like, all around you can sort of like see in a very similar...
You've got books everywhere, but also lots of prints as well.
Lots of prints on the walls. You've got Michael on the wall. You've got Marina Abramovic. You've got some prints that I got from Japan. You've got 2 Foot on the wall.
A whole range of influences.
Yeah, you've got Freud on the wall. You've got Bacon on the wall. You've got Christina Camisi, and then books around here.
Just
you've
everywhere.
got like everywhere. I mean, like I really love like John Foss, Melancholy, and the Septology, and then.
Do you find yourself reading a lot of fiction, or mainly?
Honestly, a lot of fiction. I read a lot of fiction because it gives space for you to sort of like. You come up with the answers, all the questions, or you sort of feel your way through the narrative, and it talks a lot more of it. It gives you all the conversation that you'd get about philosophy and ethics and stuff like that through the guise of a story, which you then pull apart, but then you make it about you, and then that's
and that's why I've kind of like recently fallen in love with fiction again, because when I was writing my book, I was reading so much non-fiction, a lot of art historical texts.
Your book is here.
Have you got it?
Yeah, man. Your book
I'm glad
is here.
it's somewhere. But then I've, since releasing the book, been reading just fiction, and it's amazing because it does for you as much as like non-fiction can in terms of like questions about yourself, the things that resonate with you from like various characters, and also just like it uses a different part of your mind.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to like imagine and build scenes and everything. So I've really been loving fiction again as well.
100%. I think that I think that's what fiction should be. That's what fiction is, and like I think that like I always get transported to a different world, and like I then question, and there's questions over: do I actually like this writer? Do I like what they're saying?
Yeah.
Like but then like I leave feeling so full that like it then has to go somewhere, and so like I really enjoy that sort of like process of what reading fiction does for me. But then I do read some non-fiction sometimes. I'm trying to get better with it, because it is important to sort of like go in and sort of like read a person's point of view, or read something that is exacting, so that you can then sort of like come away having learned very directly and sort of like pull that apart and find that. But like I find it easier to sort of like sit down and read, I don't know, like Salman Rushdie than it is to read other writers. But then like I don't know, like I read a lot of Stuart Hall for and a lot of James Baldwin's essays in order to sort of like create some more context as to what the parameters were going to be around sort of like the 99 Strange Fruits show, especially considering what I was doing, the relationship to family and how far is too far, like what is right, what is wrong, what does it mean in terms of representation to represent fact, fictioning fact, even though the fact is different depending on who is depending on who you're talking to and about whose perspective. And so I suppose like there is room for non-fiction, but like but then also like it comes to a point where like you do all this research and reading and thinking, and then you go to the studio, and when it's 4 PM and you've been there since like 8-9 o'clock, and it's been going wrong for so long, like it just becomes like a banging your head on the wall. But I love it because it's sort of like almost all falls away.
Yeah.
All this preparation, all the preliminary drawings, all the thinking, and then you're just in it, and you go through the process of banging your head against a wall to euphoria because you're there, like it's actually flowing and it's good. And so yeah, it's to say that like the most important, again, like in terms of like practice, the most important thing is just turning up. Yeah. Turning up and just like being there and sort of like figuring out. If you're turning up consistently, something will happen. You know what I mean? And
I've had so many artists say that the main thing that has like got them through or allowed them to sort of make it has been discipline and consistency, and just like not just like keep turning up at the studio every single day and just like, I don't know, producing. I also wanted to ask you, because you did mention music right at the beginning, about, you spoke about Nina Simone already and Billie Holiday and Strange Fruit, but generally what kind of music do you listen to, and do you listen to music in the studio?
Music in the studio stops my brain from whirring, because my brain's going at 100 miles per hour 99% of the time. Yeah. So I put music in and it sort of quietens it all out. But this is to sort of say that like I probably listen to a lot of hip hop, R&B, jazz, but right now I'm listening to the new Kofi Stone album, listening to the Dijon album, Nourished by Time. Who else am I listening to? Oh, the Joy Crooks album bangs. I'm listening to a lot of Earl Sweatshirt. I'm listening to Chip a lot in the studio. I know, I listen to so many.
Range.
Range. McGee is always being played in the studio.
I really love McGee.
Yeah, like, to be fair, my friends tell me off because, like, I have a bad habit where, like, I love that. I listen to albums. I like listening to albums. I don't necessarily believe that, like...
In singles?
It's just not that I don't believe in singles, but it's a case of, like, when an album is good, like... You
want to hear the whole thing.
You want to hear the whole thing. You want to take in a project. I don't necessarily want to listen to like one song.
It is
from one
a bit
artist.
like, I hate to make the connection, but it is a bit like going to an exhibition and seeing a body of work.
Yeah.
When you listen to the full album, you get the whole sort of like picture.
And
there are like echoes of different songs.
Exactly.
And
you get to move through that. So like I enjoy that, but it means that like when I'm with friends and stuff like that, I will play the same albums over and over again. So there's many people that unfortunately I've ruined McGee for, and like will never like. I've also ruined Jim Legacy for a couple of people, but not because his music's not amazing. They love his music.
They've overheard it.
But like they've overheard it every 2 seconds. But also that's how it should be. You know what I mean? I'm slamming it in the art, like. But also it means that like it makes me feel calm when I'm in the studio. It's like if I'm playing sort of like a Jim Legacy album or a Tendai or playing Tendai mixtape, or I don't know, the new Dave album is absolutely amazing. James Blake's got an album coming out. J. Cole's just dropped. Kendrick dropped like last year. Listen to a lot of that. But then like you listen to GNX, and then of course you then got to bring up you then got to go back and you got to listen to
To Pimp a Butterfly.
To Pimp a Butterfly. You got to listen to Damn. You got to go listen to Section 80. You got to re-go back so then it's like okay,
sort of get absorbed in an artist's world.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's like okay, if you're here and you listen to that, then you should probably listen to J-Rock. You should listen to Schoolboy Q, and then you're in the West Coast and you listen to Blue Lips, and it's like okay, then you got Nipsey Hussle, then you listen to Snoop, and then it's like Vince Staples, and then you're comparing sort of like Snoop's albums to and that's sort of like how that's what it looks like to me.
You go down a wormhole.
It's album for album, but if I'm putting on albums, it means that like I'm not on my phone sort of like sporadically going like this. So that's whole.
It's almost like music is somewhat of a pacifier, and I mean in the sense of like making things peaceful.
Things peaceful. It stops me from like, it gets me out of my own head, and it allows me to just do rather than just be sort of like here. So like, I do love music. I love it so much, and I think it very much is interwoven into the works in the way that like across the works. So like I often borrow like the lyrics or
for the titles, right?
So like
the one that I love, the fire, the one with the flame, is called Blackbird Singing the Dead of Night. Love that. From the Beatles, and then like I've got one of the ones in the White Cube show is called Form 5 Dance with Somebody from the Whitney Houston sort of like tune, and that's in part to do with the fact that like I don't know, like I mean her story. I mean not necessarily her story, but I think it's prevalent when talking about you talk about her life, you talk about her passing, but then you also then like I don't know, like I mean as a kid, like on a Sunday. Cleaning is happening, mom's chucking on the tunes, and she's chucking on bashment, chucking on reggae, but then also like she's a girl from the 60s, she's like born in the 60s, like she was like a kid in the 70s and 80s, and sort of like a young woman in the 90s. Is that like Whitney Houston is sort of like, of course,
you know what I mean, that's what she go out to. So like when I'm born, I'm growing up, so like, what do you mean, what do you know about Whitney, boy? And it's like Whitney gets put on, you know what I mean, like come help us clean the house. So like Whitney's getting played in the house, and like I don't know, it's just finding these pathways, which is a lot of, again, like 2 + 2 making 16, and it doesn't really, but that's how it is. It's these things that sort of like seemingly
and
don't make sense.
Like
and sort
every
of like
aspect of your life is influencing the work that you're making, or is a part of the work that you're making. That's what it seems like to me. And so finally, what's next for you? It's the Wolverhampton show. Yes. So let's plug that show. And
man. So like it's a bit of a homecoming for me, I'm not gonna lie to you, like back in Wolves. The show is called Shattered Dreams, and it's my very first institutional show. I'm very excited about it. I mean to be afforded the opportunity to sort of like bring what I do back to Wolverhampton. As I was saying earlier, I don't get to go home as much as I'd like to. And so like to come home and sort of like
for
show
work as well, and
like with the work that I'm going to show, I'm really excited to sort of present that within that context. And I also think that like again, like London is such like an amazing place. I'm so fortunate to live here. However, I do think that like a lot of creatives, whether it be sort of like musicians, like I don't know, like Wesley Joseph is from like Birmingham, Georgia Smith is from Warsaw. You've got you've got like Amari Douglas is from Wolverhampton. You've got like there's like so many amazing sort of like artists, photographers, like music like that don't come from London. But like when you make work you get folded into like a London-centric context, and before you know it, you become London-based artist X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so like the opportunity to do something in Wolverhampton is just a signification of sort of like, okay, I'm bringing all the things that I learned back home, but also like I wouldn't be in the position to be shown back home if it wasn't for the city in and of itself, and the communities that sort of like really of that aunties, uncles, like Wolverhampton's a very friendly place. It's the kind of place where like people talk to each other still.
Yeah.
You know what I
Unlike
mean?
London.
Still talk to each other, and it's still checking in and make sure that they're okay. And so like I'm excited to sort of like bring something to there which the people that home can have access to, rather than it being a case of like, okay, one of ours is doing a show that's great, but like it's in London, it's away, so they can leave their homes, they can go to town, and they can go see the show, and it's going to be on for like it's going to be on until like maybe August.
Oh, that's amazing. So all through summer.
All through summer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're going down Grantham,
when everyone's going to be feeling happier again.
Exactly, happier. Like
and happy to be outside.
Exactly. None of this rain, because it's honestly been so miserable. But like it's like one of those ones where it's like, oh, if you're going into town, go see the show. Go see the show. Go about your business. You know what I mean? But like I think I'm really excited. I think it's a privilege to even have been considered for something like that, and I think it's like it's gonna be really, really cool. I'm really excited, and like I don't know, like, but then after that, I suppose that like we'll see what happens. Is there things in the works? Yeah and no, but also like it's one of those ones.
What
where,
can you say? What can't you say?
Not even. I think the easiest thing to say is that like the most important thing is that like my life looks fairly simple. Like it's me and my partner, and we live our lives, and she's got her things and I've got my things.
In this beautiful home.
I come back here.
Yeah.
I'm chilling. I'm watching TV. I'm going to see friends. I'm working out. I'm just sort of like I'm just trying to create balance in my life while also making work and really pushing myself, but just like fair equilibrium within what a life of a practicing artist is sort of like what I'm trying to build for myself. And so like, yeah, it's the reason why, like, I don't know, it's part of the reason why I think we sort of spoke about, because there's nothing in the studio right now, you know what I mean? In the studio, I'm rebuilding again, basically, and sort of experimenting.
You've been stretching canvases.
I've basically been stretching canvases, like, you know what I mean? I'm stretching canvases, that's it right now. So it's all like, so it's a lot of that, a lot of like being at home and reading and researching, and then going for it in that sense, but in the, so like, I am here right now. I am at home. Like I am in the studio. Get me wrong, but I'm at home and sort of like almost like
you've got a balance right now.
Yeah, building back up to sort of like jump back in. So like it's part of the reason why I was there. Like, yo, big man, come to the yard.
Yeah, instead of the studio, it's so amazing. Yeah,
like,
because this is where you are right now.
Yeah, this is where I am.
And you're in the studio.
Oh no, yeah.
But you're also here.
But I'm also here. You know what I mean? Like it's none of the. It's to say that like I'm not doing the 7 days a week right now, but like which feels good ultimately. So like
amazing.
Cool. Yeah, man.
I can't wait to see all the things you're gonna do.
Yeah, man.
You're just constantly doing quite incredible things. And it's very it's wonderful to watch as a friend, as someone who's your exact age working in the art world.
Who's
nice
older
to see all of us kind of. I'm a couple of days older than you. I'm 8th of July.
Yeah, like I'm 12th of July. So you're like literally a couple of days older than I am.
So yeah, but it's nice to see, and also what our peers are doing. It's like it feels like we are all sort of getting our places in the art world, or like 100%. People that we're all kind of coming up together, and it's a wonderful thing.
It really is.
It's very inspiring watching all the things that you're doing.
Thank you. So I'm with you as well. I think the most important, like, rent's paid, light bills paid, water bills paid.
What more could you ask for?
You know what I mean? Like, God is good, and you just keep it going from there, you know what I mean? I'm proud of you, kid.
Thanks.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming on my podcast on A Shared Gaze.
Let's go.
Boom! We're out. I'm so proud we did it! Yes!
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing from the artist as much as I did talking to them. A special thank you to Bernardo for coordinating and shooting our discussion.